Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Eldridge, Chair Madaro, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Excited to start the hearing off today to testify in support of H.3073, S.1957, and S.1975. My name is Charlotte Bruce, and I'm the Director of Policy for Children's Health Watch, a network of pediatricians and child health researchers based at Boston Medical Center. I also lead the Healthy Families Tax Credits Coalition, a statewide network of more than 80 organizations and institutions working to expand the state earned income tax credit and child and family tax credit. First, I want to thank the committee and the legislature for last session's near unanimous expansion of these two credits by recognizing them as proven bipartisan tools to reduce poverty and strengthen family financial stability. You delivered millions of dollars to your constituents and families across the Commonwealth, so thank you. The bills before you today build on that progress in two essential ways. First, through outreach. Currently, just 82% of eligible workers claim the EITC in Massachusetts, and uptake for the new child and family tax credit is likely even lower. Families who don't file taxes, especially very low-income families, miss out on not only the state credits, but also on federal ones, leaving millions of dollars on the table. These bills would direct the Department of Revenue to lead a coordinated multilingual outreach campaign, partnering with employers, chambers of Congress, benefit programs, and others to ensure eligible families know about and claim these credits that you all just expanded. Second, these bills strengthen the credits themselves. First, they would extend the EITC to immigrant and mixed status families who file taxes using an individual taxpayer identification number. They would remove the EITC cap on families with more than 3 children, expand EITC eligibility to younger and older workers without children in the home, reflecting the realities of today's workforce, extend the child and family tax credit to all children under 18, currently available up to age 12, and increase the credit's value, raising the state EITC match from 40 to 50% of the federal credit and boosting the child and family tax credit from $440 to $600 per child with inflation for adjustments. In addition, S.1975 would increase the EITC match rate for workers without children and extend the $600 credit to SSI recipients who do not already meet eligibility, closing a critical gap in support for some of the Commonwealth's most vulnerable households. These changes are urgently needed for many reasons. I know I just ran through a list of the provisions, but colleagues from the coalition will describe the impact shortly and get into more details there. But you may have seen census data just released this month showing that nearly 1 in 10 Massachusetts families live below the poverty line. The Massachusetts Poverty Commission's recent report explicitly points to these bills as opportunities to reduce poverty and strengthen economic stability. For all these reasons, I urge the committee to report these bills out favorably. Thank you for your leadership and the chance to testify today.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Bruce. Thanks for your testimony. We have a couple panels. The first panel is Angela Devaris from Greater Boston Legal Services and Maroni Minter from MIRA. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Judge, Chairman Darrow, members of the committee, I'm very pleased to be offering testimony on House Bill 3073, Senate 1957, an act supporting families through enhanced tax credits, and Senate Bill 1975, an act to reduce poverty by expanding the EITC and the child and family tax credit. You've been champions of improving tax credit for low to moderate income taxpayers before, and you did it in October of 2023. And I hope that we have another opportunity to do it today and stand with low income and moderate income taxpayers, including struggling immigrant taxpayers. So I really urge the committee to consider this. It's a very fraught moment right now for my clients, and they're afraid. They are taxpayers. They have tax ID numbers that are issued by the IRS, and they really don't know what to do going forward. You might have seen in the news that there's a memorandum of understanding between DHS and the IRS to share information. We can't tell people whose information will be shared. There's currently pending litigation to stop that. There is no exception under tax law for immigration enforcement, but nevertheless, here we are. So A new and improved EITC would include immigrant ITIN filers, and ITIN is an individual taxpayer identification number. 10 other states have done it, and DC. So we're a little behind. When we improved, or you all improved, the earned income tax credit, we increased it from 30 to 40%. We expanded it. The child and family tax credit showed real bipartisan support, which included immigrants. But we did leave a few people out, and not just the immigrants. We also left out people who are on the younger and older side, who are left out of the EITC. If we remember when the EITC came about, it was back in 1975, when maybe more people 18 to 24 were dependent on their parents, and everybody 65 and over was living happily in retirement on Social Security, but that's not the case now. And during COVID, these issues rapidly, we pivoted and we changed how we distributed that credit. But those expired, okay? Those enhanced credits for families, for older workers, younger workers, they're gone. And some states took up that baton and started, we can't really fill the gap of the federal government, but we can do something to recognize these folks as workers and help them in our state. Why? Because we deserve an equitable tax system that works for all of us, invests in our economy, and is in line with this national trend to improve refundable credits. So tax credits have a kind of image problem that people don't necessarily understand that they are a critical part of the safety net. The earned income tax credit dwarfs almost all other assistance, cash assistance to working families. It is huge. So to leave someone out of it is a big deal, both to the family, to the household, and to the communities, because it's an infusion of cash. It's a recognition that hard work is not always enough. Right? That's really the meaning of the earned income tax credit, because you're working full-time, but you're not making it. So we're gonna help you do that, and we're gonna encourage and incentivize you to keep that job by supporting you in that job. So it's an investment in the household, in the community, because poor people also don't have the privilege of kind of squirreling away their money. They spend it, right? They pay their rent, they buy their food, it's in the local community. So to deprive certain sectors, certain workers of this credit, it's just not fair. So the EITC, like I said, is 50 years old this year. So it's an example of a program that accomplishes its purpose, right? It incentivizes work, it boosts the financial returns of getting it and keeping a job. There are so many studies, and I think there's gonna be a doctor later testifying, about how this credit doesn't just give you a once-a-year windfall, but it extends into the next generation. It's really interesting to read those studies about how it helps kids, it helps graduation rates, it helps ultimate earning rates.
And Ms. Zaraz, I apologize, but you haven't reached your 3-minute limit, so if you could close, yep.
Oh, sure, okay. So it hasn't been updated since '75. It's time that we do that. Some people have said that maybe this is not the time to include immigrants, but if not now, when? We can't change everything happening on the federal level, but we can do this. 1 out of 20 U.S. citizen kids in this state would be affected, and it's transformational, the help that this gives these families. So, we did it as a country during COVID, we can do it as a state now. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And Mr. Minter?
Thank you, Chair Eldridge, Vice Chair Madaro, and committee members. My name is Moroni Minter, and I'm the political director at MIRA, the largest organization in New England advancing the rights and inclusion of immigrants and refugees. We also represent 150 plus organizations across the states. And I'm also a proud immigrant from Gabon. I'm here today not only as an advocate, but as an immigrant who knows firsthand how important tax credits are for working families. This year, I was grateful to get a tax refund, and that refund made it possible for my son to stay in his soccer club where he plays for an MLS academy team. Without that refund, I don't know what I would have done, how I would have paid that fee. I know immigrant families who work just as hard, pay taxes, and deserve the same support. In spite of working full-time, life in Massachusetts is very expensive, as we all know. And like most parents, I want the best for my son's growth and development. That includes opportunities to build his confidence, skills, and future. Being able to afford something like soccer may seem small, but to my son and to me, it means everything. It means belonging, hope, and the chance to thrive. That's why this issue matters so much to me, not just as an advocate, but as a father. For other families, that same support looks different. It might mean keeping a full fridge, covering the heating bill, or making sure that kids have school supplies. These tax credits don't just balance budgets, they give families stability, dignity, and opportunity. And right now in Massachusetts excludes families who file with an individual taxpayer identification, I-10, from receiving the earned income credit, even though they pay the same taxes as everyone else. This exclusion is not small. More than 76,000 individuals and 26,000 households, many of them with US citizen children, are denied the EITC simply because one parent does not have a Social Security. That includes over 17,000 Massachusetts families with US citizen children who are being denied the same tax benefits as their neighbors, not because they don't work or pay taxes, but simply because of their immigration status. H.3073 S.1957 would fix that by expanding the EITC eligibility to I-10 filers and mixed status families, and by strengthening both the EITC and the child and family tax credit. As was mentioned, 10 other states have done this already, including DC. It is time for Massachusetts to join these states. So for that, I urge you to please pass this bill out of this committee and do everything that you can to get it across the finish line. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So thank you, each of you, for your testimony, and obviously Charlotte, Bruce, before, and the whole Healthy Families Coalition, and appreciate all your advocacy in us expanding the EITC 2 years ago. So it was an excellent coalition. I did have a question, Attorney Devaris. You had talked a little bit about I-10. I think sometimes there's some confusion around who are I-10 filers, especially in the context of the federal government, perhaps looking at people who are I-10 filers. So if you could explain a little bit the different groups of people, if you will, that are I-10 filers.
Sure. So under tax law, the IRS does not care if you have a Social Security number or not, if you're earning income. You still have the same tax filing obligations, and that hasn't changed now either. So people are obliged to report their income, whether or not they've got a tax ID number. And the IRS, in order to facilitate folks who don't have Social Security numbers, will issue an I-10 number, so that person can comply with their tax IDs. They started doing that back in '96. In 1996, it's also just coincidentally, it's the same year that we passed very detrimental immigration, quote unquote, reform. Welfare was gutted the same year. I-10s allow people to comply with their tax filing obligations. They also are a way that folks can integrate into the economy more. If you look on, say, a car dealership in an immigrant neighborhood, you'll see a page on getting an I-10 because you can finance your car with that. You can get a loan. If you look at credit unions, they will have webinars on this is a community you need to reach out to. But why do we have so many I-10 filers? It's because we have a broken immigration system. Because since that '96, we haven't had real immigration reform since '86, and then '96 just ruined it. So you have people who've been living here for decades. My parents emigrated here. They're just like my clients. They, fleeing natural disaster, civil war, famine. My parents went through all of it in Greece. They're just like my clients, except it was easier for them to emigrate. And there are too many people, there is no avenue to get that elusive Social Security number. You just cannot get it. So you've got people who have been buying even homes. A lot of them are living in poverty, right? And we are taxing them into poverty if we don't give them the tax credits that they have earned. So the 1996 is when IRS started issuing ITINs. 1975 was when we created the Earned Income Tax Credit. Same year is when, due to Nixonian abuses, 6103 in the tax code was really beefed up to prevent and protect taxpayer privacy. So some coincidental timing here. But an ITIN is a tax identifier. And regardless of your tax number, whatever number is on your tax return, why should your family, if I have an ITIN but my husband has a social security number, why do my kids not get this tax credit? Like, what would be the reason for that? Because even mixed status families, and by and large undocumented folks are living in blended families, they can't get it. Nobody gets it. The whole family is out because of that tax ID number. And for expediency's sake, we follow the federal rules. But we don't have to. I mean, we can do it the way we want to. We don't give 100% of the credit, we give 40% of the credit. Maybe we should give a little more. But maybe we should give it to people who earned it too.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that clarification. Are there questions from committee members? Okay, thank you.
I just want to thank you for your advocacy. I'm proud to represent East Boston, a thriving, diverse immigrant community. I represent many undocumented folks, and this is really important to my constituents. So I want to just thank you for taking the time to be here today and testifying.
So many small businessmen
Yes.
and people in that pool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for support. Thank you again. The next panel on this same bill, Brian Robinson and Rachel Rodri from the Tax Help Coalition.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Eldridge. Good morning, Chair Madaro, my representative in East Boston, and distinguished committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony this morning. My name is Rachel Rodri, and I work in the city of Boston with the Boston Tax Help Coalition. The Boston Tax Help Coalition is a cross-sector volunteer income tax assistance collaboration. We launched in 2001 to assist low and moderate income Massachusetts taxpayers in claiming their maximum federal and state tax refunds and credits, especially and most important, the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child and Family Tax Credits. The coalition operates roughly 40 sites in the greater Boston area in partnership with organizations like the Action for Boston Community Development, Boston Housing Authority, and Boston Medical Center. Annually, coalition partners prepare and file returns for 12,000 low and moderate income families, generating more than $22 million in tax refunds, including over $7 million in earned income credits. More than 1/3 of taxpayers, close to 1/2 of taxpayers served by the coalition, claim anti-poverty credits. I'm here today on behalf of myself, our coalition, and the 12,000 low and moderate income Massachusetts taxpayers we serve annually. I'm also here on behalf of my partner, Alejandro, who's one of the 1.2 million immigrants that comprise 1/5 of Massachusetts' workforce. First, I would like to thank all of you for your consideration of expanding these credits even further from the expansion 2 years ago. Today, we ask plainly that the committee prioritizes the needs of low and moderate income families in Massachusetts by supporting an act to support families through enhanced tax credits and an act to reduce poverty by expanding the EITC and the Child and Family Tax Credit. Expansion of these highly valuable anti-poverty cash assistance programs will have immediate positive impacts on working families in our community that Brian will speak to in just a moment. As the Boston Tax Help Coalition gears up for our 25th tax filing season, it is incumbent upon us as service providers to request your support in expanding state-level tax credits that are so critical to the well-being of so many taxpayers in our communities. If passed, an act supporting families through enhanced tax credits would expand tax credit eligibility to thousands of hardworking immigrant and mixed status families, just like mine, who have historically been excluded from income assistance programs despite being lawful taxpayers. Furthermore, this act would expand the Child and Family Tax Credit to all children under 18. Anyone who has or works with teens understands how expensive raising them can be. And this expansion will provide Massachusetts families with critical resources to support their children at pivotal points in their development. Passing an act to reduce poverty by expanding the EITC and the Child and Family Tax Credit would tremendously benefit taxpayers who are often overlooked, Social Security recipients, and low-income workers who are not claiming children. Taxpayers who would benefit from this legislation have historically been shut out from claiming anti-poverty credits despite having a high need, and we urge the Revenue Committee to consider the extra impact for low-income individuals and individuals on SSI. At a time when so much uncertainty looms around all federal anti-poverty programs, there's no guarantee that federal anti-poverty credits will remain in place. It has never been more important to expand eligibility and rates of state earned income and child tax and family credits. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you as well to the Revenue Committee for allowing us the opportunity to speak on this important legislation. My name is Brian Robinson. I'm the director of the Boston Tax Help Coalition. In my 20 years with the Boston Tax Help Coalition, I have seen through my own work and through the passed along experiences shared by our volunteers and partners, tens of thousands of times how these tax credits change lives. I have witnessed firsthand these credits being the difference between falling behind and staying afloat, between eviction and keeping a home, between going hungry and putting food on the table. Anyone who has spent time in a tax preparation clinic knows how financially precarious life can be for many low-income workers, and how profoundly the earned income tax credit, amongst other credits, can change that reality. The impact is immediate and life-changing. Families use these credits to cover urgent bills, reduce debt, and even begin saving for the future. Expanding eligibility and increasing the size of these credits will extend that relief to more families who need it, immigrant households, larger families, and workers at different stages of life. And the ripple effects are undeniable. These dollars flow right back into local communities, supporting stores, childcare providers, and small businesses. The proof of the power of these credits isn't just in the families we serve, but in the people who come back year after year to help. Half of our 300 to 400 volunteers return annually, and many staff, myself included, have dedicated decades to this work. That kind of continuity exists because we see the profound difference these credits make, and it is such a powerful, positive experience that it keeps us coming back year after year. Strengthening and expanding these credits would magnify their effects, lifting more families, energizing more volunteers, and building stronger, more stable communities across Massachusetts. I urge you to pass these bills because when we strengthen the stability and mobility of low-income families, we strengthen the fabric of our communities and create positive ripple effects that benefit us all. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions from committee members?
Just want to extend my gratitude to you as well, similarly to the last panel, in particular to you, Rachel, for advocating so strongly for our neighbors in East Boston.
From Mass Cap, I think probably remote, Joe Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much. Chair Eldridge, Chair Modero, and members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to present testimony in favor of an act supporting families to enhance tax credits by Representatives Decker and Vargas and Senator DiDomenico, House 3073, Senate 1957, and an act to reduce poverty by expanding the EITC and the Child and Family Tax Credit by Senator Eldridge, Senate 1975. I'm Joe Diamond, Executive Director of MassCap, the Association for the 23 community action agencies, federally mandated anti-poverty agencies operating in Massachusetts. We serve over 600,000 people living with low incomes with 100 different integrated and blended services, including access to the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child and Family Tax Credit and other tax credits via free tax preparation offered by Voluntary Income Tax Assistance sites or VITA sites. There are 80 VITA sites across the state, half of which are run by community action agencies and half by members of the Boston Tax Help Coalition, our proud partner in VITA. Together we serve in any given year up to 30,000 working people, bringing up to $60 million to taxpayers and local communities. The Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child and Family Tax Credit, or the CFTC, are indeed powerful anti-poverty tools. We know from years of research and practice that the story of poverty is in large part the story of low wages. The EITC, along with other tax credits and the minimum wage and other programs like the individual development accounts and baby bonds, serve to bridge the wage gap, promote economic stability, foster economic mobility, and build wealth. The legislation we are focusing on today further increases and expands on the state EITC and the CFTC and builds on the very important progress recently made with the improvements of both by the legislature and the governor. Thank you very much for that. Depending on income and family size, taxpayers can receive up to $10,000 when accessing the state and federal EITC as well as the CFTC. This can be life-changing. Low-income working people for decades now have used the EITC to pay bills, cover housing costs, repair cars, buy food and medicine and clothes, retire debt, save, and perhaps most importantly, plan for a hopeful future. The changes offered in these bills would make these tax credits, in light of tougher and tougher economic times, even more powerful. The increase in the state EITC from 40 to 50% of the federal EITC would yield a 25% increase in an amount a taxpayer could realize, on average about $500, which has been noted to be the amount needed often to cover an emergency. Further, the increase and expansion of eligibility for the EITC and the CFTC to immigrant and mixed status families and families with more than 3 children and those under 18 and over 65 are critical to providing whole family support. And the outreach approach outlined in the bills will help us reach the estimated 75,000 taxpayers in Massachusetts that do not yet access these credits. In closing, we join as proud members of the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition to respectfully urge your favorable consideration of these bills. Thank you very much for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from committee members? Thank you very much, Mr. Diamond.
Thank you.
Now I think we also have remote Juan Bonilla from the United Way.
Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity. Thank you, Chairman Eldridge, Chairman Madaro, and honorable members of the Joint Committee on Revenue. My name is Juan Bonilla Santiago. I serve as the Senior Vice President of Economic Inclusion and Wealth Building at the United Way of Massachusetts Bay, and I'm a proud member of the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition. I'm here to testify in support of H.3073 and S.1957, as well as S.1975. I also want to thank Chairman Eldridge, Senator De Domenico, Representative Decker, and Representative Vargas for their leadership in strengthening the state's earned income tax credit and child and family tax credit over the years and currently in this legislative cycle. I would like to start by pointing to a stat. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reported in their 2024 Making Ends Meet survey that the overall financial health of consumers has deteriorated to the levels of 2019 after they had been rising sharply in 2020. Across Massachusetts, families are struggling to keep up with the rising cost of living. For households who are living on limited incomes, these pressures erode financial stability, deepen hardship, and ultimately weaken our state's economy. Families who are forced to choose between paying for housing and other bills, buying food, or even maintaining employment cannot contribute fully to our state's shared prosperity. Expanding the state's EITC to 50% of the federal credit will provide an average benefit of $1,087 to Massachusetts family. That is real, timely relief that helps parents to keep the lights on, pay rent, and cover other essentials. Importantly, H.3073 and S.1957 also expand eligibility to workers and families of mixed status who pay taxes and contribute significantly to our economy, but are currently excluded because they or family members lack a Social Security number. S.1975 takes an equally critical step by boosting the EITC for workers without dependents, currently just $253, by matching 100% of the federal credit. It is important to know that many of these workers are young adults beginning their careers and represent the future of Massachusetts workforce, many who are leaving the state because of the high costs. Strengthening this credit is not only fair, it is smart economic policy that will help retain talent and reduce out-migration. In addition, H.3073 and S.1957 would increase the child and family tax credit to $600 per dependent and index it to inflation. Even modest dollars make a powerful difference, helping families catch up on rent, prevent utility shutoffs, buy groceries, or build a small savings cushion against emergencies. We're also encouraged that these bills will allow families to receive the child and family tax credit through advanced periodic payments. The success of the 2021 federal child tax credit showed how monthly payments reduce food insecurity and housing instability by providing more timely relief. Providing this option here in Massachusetts will make the credit more responsive to the realities that families are facing today. On behalf of the United Way of Massachusetts Bay and the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition, I respectfully urge you, the committee, to report favorably on H.3073, S.1957, and S.1975. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Bonilla. Are there any questions from the committee members? Okay, thank you very much. And the last individual on this bill, Lucy Marshall, from Street Cred Boston Medical Center. I think remote.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, Chair Madro, Chair Eldridge, and members of the Joint Committee of Revenue. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the committee in support of H.3073 S.1975, which would significantly expand Massachusetts Earned Income Tax Credit and Child and Family Tax Credit. My name is Dr. Lucy Marshall. I'm an associate professor of pediatrics at Boston University and executive director of Street Cred at Boston Medical Center. I'm speaking as a representative of Boston Medical Center and Children's Health Watch. I see daily the negative impact of poverty on my patients' health. That's why I started Street Cred, which provides free VITA tax preparation in clinics. Research confirms what we see in practice. The EITC and child tax credit reduce preterm birth, low birth weight, and infant abuse, while improving maternal mental health, breastfeeding rates, food security, and long-term educational achievement. They literally save lives and build healthier futures. Our first client in 2016 was a great-grandmother in her 50s with custody of her 2-year-old great-granddaughter. She worked part-time at a fast food chain and made less than $10,000 a year. Let's imagine living in Boston and raising a child on less than $10,000. She received over $3,000 from the EITC, about a third of her annual income. The previous year, she lost $300 or 10% of her refund to a for-profit tax preparation company. She was delighted to keep all the money this time around. She excitedly told me about the, quote, luxury items she bought with the refund: a warm winter coat for her baby, a high chair, fresh fruits and vegetables. This bill would expand the state EITC from 40 to 50% of the federal credit, extend eligibility to immigrant families and those with more than 3 children, and boost the child and family tax credit to $600 per dependent while allowing advance payments. These changes are crucial because not all families qualify for federal credits. Those who do often remain in poverty. Finally, it would allow for advanced periodic child and family tax credit payments. During 2021, the federal government extended the child tax credit. I saw firsthand the importance of monthly cash payments. One mom of a toddler expressed relief knowing she would have $300 a month. She'd been wanting to return to work, but couldn't figure out how to pay for childcare each month. Now she could. This legislation would lift thousands of Massachusetts children out of poverty, improve health outcomes, and strengthen our state's economic future. I urge you to favorably report out H.3073 S.1957. Thank you for considering my request.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Are there questions from the committee? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We now have an in-person panel on an act supporting family caregivers, including Lorena Silva. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Talk about a bill that you care about deeply. Good afternoon, Chair Eldridge, Chair Madro, members of the committee. Thank you for taking me out of turn. I want to highlight a couple of bills that I have filed that are before the committee. First and foremost, it's Senate 1957, an act supporting families through enhanced tax credits, which would expand the state income tax credit and the child and family tax credit to deliver larger benefits to more families and workers in the Commonwealth. This bill would increase the EITC from 40% to 50% of the federal credit, delivering greater financial relief for low-wage workers. And it will also expand eligibility for the EITC so more workers can access the credit, including immigrant and mixed status families who file taxes using an individual taxpayer ID number, and families with more than 3 children, and remove the dependent cap as well. We want to raise the children and family tax credit from $440 to $600 for each qualifying dependent, and index the credit annually to protect its value over time, and extend the CFTC to all children under the age of 18. Currently, it's limited to children under the age of 13. and allow the Department of Revenue to implement advanced periodic payments of the CFTC for families who prefer this payment model as opposed to one lump sum payment. And lastly, to improve access to the EITC and the CFTC through a robust communications and outreach campaign so everyone knows they qualify and everyone knows what the tax credit will entail and how it benefits them as well. I am proud of the legislature and Governor Healy for passing a very a monumental tax package in 2023, as in that package we also increased the EITC from 30% to 40%, which is a very good start. We do not want to end at 40%. We also increased the CFTC to become the most generous in the country, which we can all be very proud of. That being said, we must keep improving and ensuring the payments are adequate for our residents. And as time goes on and it becomes more expensive to live in our state, we also know that each dollar is stretched even more thin than it is today. Last session, Representative Decker and I worked alongside many of you and many years of work in this area to ensure tax credits are benefiting our most vulnerable populations. And we filed 2 separate bills last session, and this session we put it into one larger bill to make sure that we address both equally, because both are equally important. I urge the committee to give this legislation a favorable report on that one. I also want to mention 2 other bills that I have filed that are in before the committee, and I'll just touch on them. The employer-provided child care bill, Senate 1956, and the health care preceptorship, which is Senate 1960. I ask for a favorable report on those 2 as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Senator DiDomenico. Are there any questions from the committee? All right. Thank you for your leadership on these bills.
Thank you. Thank you for your work, too.
I see Senator Joe Comerford is here. Senator Comerford. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Chair Eldridge and Chair Modero. And I'm glad to follow my good colleague, Senator DiDomenico. I add my support to the bills he just spoke to you about.